Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, Karen outs herself as office food thief. Lousy neighbor chastises my 77 years old mother. BC My 87 years old father didn't respond correctly to the news. Security guard for building site next to my apartment saved a parking space for herself with traffic cones. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Karen outs herself as office food thief. I work IT at a small nonprofit. We have a kitchen/staff room and supply free coffee, tea, milk, sugar, etc. During the pandemic, all staff were working from home, but for the past few weeks, some staff have been coming back gradually, most for just 1 to 2 days a week, including myself and, unfortunately, Karen. Now, Karen and I have had many run-ins over the years, and suffice to say we don't get along. I don't tolerate her BS. A week or so after being back, Karen sends a condescending email to the office manager, CCing all staff. In it, she says that, while she accepts that the office kitchen had not been stocked while everyone was on lockdown, she is appalled that there is no bread, bagels, yogurts, etc. for staff that have returned. Replies, adding CCing all staff. Karen: as a courtesy to staff, we provide free coffee, tea, milk, and sugar, all of which have been stocked. We have never proved free bread, bagels, yogurts, or other food. However, staff do keep personal food items in the refrigerator. No comments so far. This happened last Wednesday. Someone should reply all with just. You should reply all saying your bread always seemed to disappear faster than you were using it. I went to a very small college. We all had a refrigerator for all the students who wanted to store their food. One day, there was a food thief. I wanted to stop the food thief. So what I did was I made a ghost pepper pizza. I put some ghost pepper sauce in the marinara, and I heard a howl come from the kitchen. The food thief outed themselves, and since then, we haven't had a problem with food thieves. Oh my gosh, ha 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 ha, how dare you all close her personal pantry? What was the general response, especially hers? Guess it never occurred to her to ask if anyone was bringing their own lunch or break snacks. Just assumed it was provided. Another product of no basic positive values, the consideration of others, being one of them. I brought food to eat, really awful by anybody else's standards, basically gray gruel with seasoning. I sat down and a woman sat down in front of me with my food. I told her it was my food and she got angry and insisted it was hers. I took it away and said it was mine and that it was not anything anybody else would want, and asked her to identify what it was. She couldn't, of course. I ate it then so she wouldn't. And from then on I left my goop outside just so no one would make me starve. I used to do this too. When I had to use a community office fridge, I pretty much only brought either the stinkiest tuna sandwich or French onion soup. I eventually managed to finagle a mini fridge for my office, then I brought in better food. LOL. We had a lady at work whose salad kept getting stolen. So one day she made a dressing with golightly, the colon clean out for colonoscopies, as the main ingredient. Her salad was never stolen again. Ooh, nice one. I just had my first colonoscopy last fall, and golightly is what I was prescribed. That stuff is no joke. Legit, you have to just park your ass on the toilet after you've been drinking it for an hour or so. No sympathies for the thief who ate your coworker's salad. I want to high-five her for that. Lousy neighbor chastises my 77 years old mother. BC My 87 years old father didn't respond correctly to the news. My parents have been in their home for 55 years in a residential dead-end street. I was raised in that house and helped them maintain it in the golden years so they can stay there. As you would expect, most of the homes in the neighborhood have been sold at least once as retired people downsize and young families moved in. 20 or so years ago, a family moved in next door and had young children. BC, I am an only child with no kids. My parents embraced the children and also the family as a whole, Christmas gifts, birthdays, etc. For their trouble, they have been taken advantage of over the years to the point I won't even look at these people. For example, asking my father to pet sit their cat, then leaving no food or litter for the cat, and not answering the phone when he called to ask what to buy. No reimbursement. This happened repeatedly. Telling my father to leave the tomatoes and other veggies he grows on their doorstep, rather than personally come over or even acknowledge. Again, no thank you. Telling my father they will take him to breakfast to thank him for the pet care. They owe him 6 or more breakfasts at this point. Declining to contribute to the maintenance of a shared easement, so my father mowed, seeded, and fertilized it every year, until he was unable to due to his age, so now the landscaping company they pay to maintain the rest of the yard does it in our dime. During COVID, inviting them to their Cape house. My mom has cancer and was unable to go most places during the pandemic, so she was very excited to go. They canceled because they forgot and never reached out with another invitation. Their daughter got married and my mother was invited to the shower. For the above reason she did not attend, but got a gift which she wanted to give the bride in person, but was told they were too busy and to leave it on the doorstep. They attend the wedding, and my mother falls down the stairs leaving, requiring an ambulance, though no one at the wedding is involved and no scene. No one calls to see if she is okay. There's more, but that's enough to give the idea. I've told my parents to set boundaries many times over the years, and that they were being taken advantage of, but my folks chose to keep the peace. 2 days ago the wife calls and tells my mother, from next door, they are selling their house. My mother expresses she will be sad to see them go but wishes them well, then puts my father on the phone. My father's reaction is a bit different. He starts in on his concerns about a wild card moving in, the shared easement, etc. Please remember he's 87 years old. Neighbor basically hangs up on him, then calls back and yells at my mom about how insensitive he was and how they are like family and she can't believe he would be so rude. The for sale signs went up yesterday at noon. She had literally waited to tell my parents until less than 24 hours before, yet they're like family. I know there's some truth to the devil, but it's a good thing they made the move before I inherited the house, because the gravy train would have crashed and burned on my watch. People who claim anyone is like family seldom live up to the words. Exactly, I'm sure their real families weren't told about their real estate plans. They're selling to use the money to buy multiple vacation properties to rent out the day before. I hope the new neighbors are better people. Me too, my folks are good people, they deserve so much better. Your parents are saints. Kudos to you for holding your tongue for so many years. My family has lived in my house since the 30s, and so we've seen people come and go. The demographic of the neighbors alone is really interesting, but we had new neighbors come and tell us that their friends are interested in the area and would we be willing to sell our house to them so they could live here. And when I was blank-faced they said, well, they need the school district more than you. We live in a coal city and I just said sorry no and closed the door. They now glare at us, but whatever. Security guard for building site next to my apartment saved a parking space for herself with traffic cones. I lived in an apartment block in University City in Philadelphia. Next door was a block of condominiums that was under construction. I got home late one night and found that the only parking spot on the street had traffic cones in it. I knew the parking regulations really well, and saving a spot by putting something in it was 100% illegal. If you wanted to legally reserve a spot, there was an application process, and if you got approved, you were given an official temporary no parking sign. I had actually done that when I moved into the building so I'd have a place to park the U-Haul I'd rented. I got out of my car, tossed the cones onto the sidewalk, and parallel parked. As I was getting out of my car, a woman stormed over and started yelling at me. She was wearing blue Dickies and a polo shirt with a badge-shaped patch from a security company. She insisted that I wasn't allowed to move the cones, and I had to find somewhere else to park. I asked her if she was a cop, and she said, I am with the police. I said, I wasn't asking who you're fucking, I was asking if you are a city, county, state, or federal law enforcement officer. She dodged the question again insisting that she had the legal authority to make me move my car. She said the space was reserved because they needed it for security vehicles for the building site. I said, if there's no parking sign, then the spot is first come / first served. I pointed to my disabled parking placard with my cane and said I clearly needed the spot more than she did. She said, I have one of those, too. I said, I can see why, but I'm physically handicapped. I honestly thought she was going to take a swing at me. To be honest, I was kind of hoping she would. I said, look, I don't have time for this shit. I'm going inside. If you're thinking about messing with my car, keep in mind that I know where you work, and the bodega over there has security cameras. I called the company she worked for the next day and told them about it, but I don't know if anything happened. I never saw her in my neighborhood again, though. I have trouble believing that anyone outside of a movie character can spit out such perfect comebacks at a moment's notice, but it's a satisfying story, so I'll let the embellishments go. Smiley face. Why not just call the police? I don't see the appeal of living in the middle of a big city yet driving a car. Ditch the car and you'll deal with far fewer entitled people. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.